All right, today we learned the FBI warned California law enforcement agencies that Iran was in a position to launch a drone strike on the West Coast. For reference, Iran's larger drones have a range of over 1,200 miles, meaning it could hit Los Angeles if it was launched from a ship anywhere in this area on the map. Now, California Governor Gavin Newsom says he was made aware and activated the state's Emergency Operations Center. Joining us now to discuss this, Jonathan Gilliam, former FBI Special Agent and former U.S. Navy SEAL, and Jack Carr, former U.S. Navy SEAL and author of the upcoming book, The Fourth Option. Thank you both for joining me tonight. Jonathan, I want to go to you first. The FBI said that the Bureau acquired information about the regime wanting to launch unmanned aerial vehicles from an unidentified vessel off the coast. So from a law enforcement perspective, how does the FBI handle something like this?
Well, first they look at where the information is coming from, and then they will scrub it through other sources and other intelligence that they can gather. The problem we have right now is that we are still fighting against Iran's propaganda machine, and they are exceptionally well, as you've seen, of putting out information that may or may not be true. Now, at the same time, the FBI is trying to figure that out. They have to still assume that the threat is potentially real. And so they have to be coordinating with the military and law enforcement in case this is actually something that comes to fruition. But I think at this point, because of where they are in this fight, it's more likely that Iran would carry out something like this or a terrorist attack because they don't have the ability to reach out to us right now in any other fashion. So that's going to be what they're striving for. So I believe the FBI is going to be taking this very seriously.
Well, psychological warfare, of course, is a big component of this. But Jack, when I first heard this story pop up and this warning, I didn't think of these big drones like a Shaheed that's run by the IRGC and the Iranian military. I thought of terrorists being capable of strapping explosives on small commercial drones that anyone can buy. It doesn't have to come from the Middle East or from a government. We've seen this tactic play out in Gaza. We've seen it play out in other parts of the world. So is that something that we should be concerned about? Not just from the government in particular, more of a terror proxy situation?
Certainly. And then I'll be very curious to find out how this plays out, where this information came from. Of course, information can be a weapon, too, and the enemy can get you looking one way where they hit you from the other side. So I think it would be much more likely that we'd see something that's more either homegrown, radicalized online, lone wolf, possibly sleeper cells. But we have a very good way of intercepting those with all of our technical countermeasures in place these days. So we have to also remember that oftentimes terrorism can be a method of vengeance, not just of trying to get a political end through violence through targeting civilians. And we saw that with Pan Am 103 over Lockerbie, Scotland, and Gaddafi's retaliation for our bombing of him, which was in retaliation for him killing 2 U.S. servicemen in Berlin in 1986.
Yeah, that's certainly something to be concerned about. On top of everything else, Jonathan, Governor Newsom said today that drone issues have been on his mind. Do you think there's enough coordination between the federal government and states just generally on this new threat that we're facing?
Well, I think the coordination comes from the hardworking people. As we've seen in other locations around the country, when law enforcement's involved, the politics in the upper echelon of law enforcement and the cities that they work in is terrible, and it causes a lot of issues. But generally, the people that are on the ground are coordinating and doing everything that they need to do in order to get these things done. So, I think that when it comes to handling these situations, the local law enforcement and the FBI, as a coordinated effort on the Joint Terrorism Task Force, is probably one of the greatest things we ever evolved into in this country. That, along with the FBI National Academy, it builds these relationships where they're able to execute things quickly and rapidly across the country because they have relationships already built.
Jack, can you address the psychological aspect of all of this? This could be nothing, but it could be put out there by the regime or people who are sensitive to it, given California has the largest Iranian diaspora in the country. It scares Americans. There's a lot of uncertainty with this. They're uncomfortable with what's going on. Can you talk about the psychological aspect for it? And then I have a follow-up question.
Well, there's something called the strategy of failure, kind of like if the Richard Reed shoe bomber. So it did not take down a plane, but it caused a lot of changes for us. And if you remember at the time, huge disruptions across aviation, travel, and just that feeling that you're just described right there, this feeling of dread, wondering if there are more out there, where that next attack is going to come from. Yet it was a failed one. So even that strategy of failure can be hugely can disrupt and cause a lot of problems for us in this country.
This is a little bit of a different topic, but on the same topic. The Department of War was not the Department of War a year ago. It was the Department of Defense. What have you seen in the psychological change in how the Department of War is executing this operation? And were you the one responsible for getting the name changed?
I'm not saying I was responsible. I'm just saying I never heard anybody talk about it until I did back in 2021, watching the withdrawal from Afghanistan, the disastrous withdrawal there. But that name does, I think it does play a role, and that precision in language reflecting precision in thought. But when I look at things now and I think back to how things were in 2001 onward, and we have these different officers are up there addressing the country right now. I remember all the senior level, flag level officers, the generals and the admirals that sat in front of Congress time and time again, essentially saying the same thing over and over again. And now we're seeing these different officers that are up there addressing the United States. And it seems like it is a different class of officer. I was never very impressed with the ones that were leading us back in those 20 years in Iraq and Afghanistan. But these guys that are up there right now, they seem like they're a different breed. They learn from the past. They want to take those lessons from the past, apply them to the current problem set as wisdom, and not repeat the mistakes of the past. We have to remember, Iran is a different model. You can't just take a model and plop it down anywhere in the world. Different than Afghanistan, different than Iraq. But we have new leadership that also saw those mistakes of 2001 to 2021, and they're the ones now in charge. And I think they're going to be able to adapt very quickly to the unintended consequences, second and third order effects of our actions, and do a different job for the guys that are new now than was done for us.
And their language is different. They're not speaking in academic political terms. They're speaking to normal people, to normal Americans, which is very refreshing.
They're not politicians. That's what I was going to say. They don't seem they seem like they're not politicians, and we've seen a lot of politicians in uniform in years past.
And that has been detrimental to our readiness, for sure. Jonathan Gilliam and Jack Carr, great to see you. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our Newsnation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.